Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we are going OBSTAGOON hunting in the Ultra League with a powerful climbing team. This team features Scrafty on the lead, Defense Deoxys as the safe switch, and Nidoqueen as the closer. So not only is this a very powerful team that you can use to help climb rank in the Ultra League, but on top of that, every single Pokemon on the team reliably beats OBSTAGOON, even if it's running Obstruct. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and hunt some OBSTAGOONs in the Ultra League. Hopping into the first match, leading Scrafty into OBSTAGOON, and our target has been acquired. They save switch into Cresselia. I'm going to farm up and barely be able to outpace to the foul play. Foul play is going to do a nice amount of chip damage, and then I can bring in Defense Deoxys. With this amount of health disparity, I'm easily going to be able to take down the Cresselia and keep switch advantage. Although the beautiful thing with this team is that no matter where that OBSTAGOON gets aligned, it has zero good matchups. I fire off the Rock Slide, Cresselia very tanky, able to hang on and fire off a second move. I'm not shielding a thing here. These Moonblasts honestly don't do a ton of damage. I'm just going to overfarm, go for the Rock Slide, but my opponent makes a very nice catch, catching the Rock Slide onto their OBSTAGOON. I am going to farm up quite a bit with Defense Deoxys here, and they're going to be firing off a move. Honestly, I'm just going to let it go. They go for the Night Slash. I'm able to hang on and bring in Scrafty, and Scrafty will get to counter down here, because whether they go for Night Slash or Obstruct, it's going to be doing absolutely no damage. I am now debuffed, which is a little unfortunate, but in the back is Talonflame, so I am looking to be in a very good spot here. I fire off the foul play. That's going to do quite a lot of damage, and at this point, I'm just going to let this go. 2-shield Nidoqueen is going to be able to comfortably close out this game. Flame Charge is not enough to KO, and I'm able to reach one final foul play that does get a shield from the Talonflame. And now it's up to Nidoqueen to close out the match. But first, we're going to go for a fancy catch. May as well close it out with some style. We catch the Brave Bird, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Scrafty into Galvantula. This is a definite core breaker for the team, but Scrafty still does have quite a bit of play here. Galvantula is able to outpace and fire off the lunge, but due to Scrafty's bulk, we tank a lunge very well. So I am going to let that go, overfarm slightly, and then fire off the foul play. This is debuffed, but Galvantula not the tankiest, so they do commit the shield, and I'm able to catch a lunge onto my Nidoqueen. That's huge. I'm going to be able to absorb that damage, no problem, and they respond with the Jellicent, and this is perfect. This team is structured in an ABB style where the back two Pokemon are weak to Ghost, whereas my lead Pokemon, Scrafty, is my designated Ghost counter. So I have baited out the Jellicent, which is huge, and hopefully that means that Defense Deoxys will be able to close in the endgame. I'm going to farm up, try and reach another Earth Power, but they fire off a move. They go for the Bubble Beam, that is barely not enough to KO, and I'm able to reach a Poison Fang. This is not going to be doing a lot of damage, but it does get that ever-important defense drop. And now I can bring in Scrafty, overfarm, and fire off the foul play, and with that defense drop, this is going to be enough to take them out. In the back, they have Scrafty, I bank a power-up punch, and I bring in Defense Deoxys. And Defense Deoxys is honestly in a pretty nice spot here. They still have the Galvantula, but now I have shield advantage and an energy lead. So I overfarm and I fire off the Rock Slide before they reach the lunge. Rock Slide takes out Galvantula. They are saving their final shield for Scrafty, but I don't think it's going to be able to save them. I fire off the Rock Slide. It's resisted, but at this point, even resisted damage is bad news for my opponent. I shield up, I do get baited, but I should be in a pretty nice spot here as I've gotten them deep into the red. I fire off the Psycho Boost, hoping for the shield. I get the shield, and I bring in my own Scrafty, firing off the Power-Up Punch. Power-Up Punch gets them low. They fire off a move of their own, and at this point, this game should be over. My Scrafty counters down theirs, and that is a good game. Tough lead in the next match, Scrafty into Talonflame. I save switch into Defense Deoxys, and my opponent responds with OBSTAGOON. It appears they are absolutely core broken by Defense Deoxys. Even with Obstruct, this is still a dominating matchup for Defense Deoxys. I'm not shielding a thing here. They go for the Obstruct, buffing their defense, but all that basically does in this situation is just give me more farm. I land a Rock Slide, I'm going to be able to counter down and leave with energy, so that way I'm going to be able to reach a Rock Slide faster versus their Talonflame. I'm able to farm down, We'll see. Do they bring back in the Talonflame here, or do we see their third? They do bring back in the Talonflame. They farm up quite a bit, and I'm firing off the Rock Slide. Rock Slide, not lethal in the Ultra League, but does a ton of damage. At this point, I'm just going to let Defense Deoxys go. Deoxys has done its job. They go for the Brave Bird. In comes Nidoqueen, and in the back, they have Scrafty. So they were entirely core broken by Defense Deoxys, and now Nidoqueen is in a prime position to close out this game. I go for the Foul Play catch. Unfortunately, my opponent does hold on to their energy, but either way, we are in a commanding position to close out this match. They are firing off Power-Up Punch after Power-Up Punch, but their Scrafty is just not going to be able to do enough to close out this match. I fire off my own Power-Up Punch. I will be able to counter down here, and for good measure, I can counter down their Talonflame as well. They fire off a move, but the counter went through, so I can shield up, counter KOs, and that is another win. Hopping into the next match, leading Scrafty into Alolan Muck. Typically, Alolan Mucks these days are running Poison Jab, and this one is no exception. So my plan is to farm up a bunch of energy, wait for them to Acid Spray, and then I will save switch into my Defense Deoxys. This way I bank a bunch of energy for later. This Alolan Muck farms up, and I believe this is only enough for an Acid Spray. So I let it go. It is just an Acid Spray, and they bring in Giratina. So it makes sense why they wanted to go for the Acid Spray, because now this sets up their Giratina for an absolutely massive farm down. This is a really bad matchup for Defense Deoxys, but as I mentioned earlier, since I'm double weak to Ghost in the back, baiting out the Giratina is very important, because that way, hopefully Nidoqueen will not have to face it in the endgame. I fire off the Psycho Boost, that does get them low, and I aggressive switch into the Scrafty, going for the Power-Up Punch bait. Power-Up Punch does get the shield, and my guess is correct that since they had a ton of energy, they did not want to risk a no-shield. They fire off a Dragon Claw, and they fire off a second, as they are absolutely loaded. I'm going to let this go, try for the Foul Play, but they're able to reach a third. I should barely be able to survive this, and I reach the last second Foul Play, but they make a beautiful catch back onto their Alolan Muck. Very nice play by my opponent, and now I am going to bring in the Nidoqueen, as Nidoqueen has a very nice matchup going up against the Alolan Muck. I'm going to overfarm quite a bit here. This is enough for the Dark Pulse. You know what? I'm going to respect it, and that proves to be a very nice decision. I'm a little worried about an Acid Spray, so I farm up, switch into Deoxys, and they fire off a move. This way, I can prevent my Nidoqueen from being Acid Sprayed. In the back, they have Scrafty, and I have an enormous energy lead on my Nidoqueen. I go for the Poison Fang first to soften it up, and then I'm going straight for the Earth Power. Let's see that damage. Earth Power able to connect, and now that Scrafty is incredibly low. Foul Play will do the most damage of any move here, so I'm going to shield up. Unfortunately, I do get baited. They bring in Giratina, and I'm going to fire off the Poison Fang. Poison Fang is resisted, so it's not going to be doing a whole lot here. So I decide to fire off a second one just to guarantee I can take out the Giratina, and then I should be able to farm down the Scrafty, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Scrafty into Swampert. This is a fairly neutral matchup across the board. So I'm going to stay in here, farm up quite a bit of energy, and go for the Foul Play. My opponent recognizes when I get to the Foul Play, and they fire off the Hydro Cannon to ensure that they win CMP. I'm going straight for the Foul Play, as this will do quite a lot of damage to the Swampert, and they let it through. That's huge. I farm up. This is enough for the Earthquake. I decide to call it, but I make the wrong call, and I get absolutely smacked with the Earthquake. That is quite unfortunate, and a very nice read by my opponent. I'm going to go for the farm down here with my Defense Deoxys. Deoxys leads with a bunch of energy. What do they have in the back? They have Trevenant. This is not good. I'm going to fire off the Psycho Boost, and then immediately bring in Nidoqueen. In comes Nidoqueen. They have Wall Rain in the back, and that will be game over. Had I fought for Switch, this is a very different game, but I concede the match. Pretty tough lead in the next match, Scrafty into Escavalier. I save switch into Defense Deoxys. They farm up, and they fire off a Drill Run. Interestingly enough, it appears this Escav is not running Mega Horn, so I tank it, and they bring in Politoed. I do have a very nice energy lead over this Politoed, but the downside is that I've taken quite a bit of damage. I'm going to fire off a second Rock Slide, and this will start to do some pretty sizable damage to that Politoed as I'm able to get it below half health. I tank whatever they throw here. They fire off the Earthquake. Defense Deoxys able to hang on. I go for the Psycho Boost, but I end up losing CMP. Thankfully, Deoxys tanks a Weather Ball from this range, and I'm going to be firing off the Psycho Boost. Psycho Boost gets the Politoed low, aggressive switch into the Scrafty, and I farm them down. The reason I did that is because I wanted to bait back out the Escavalier, because Scrafty, with a health advantage, honestly has a pretty nice matchup here. So I am just going to go straight for the power-up punch and then start shielding. My opponent goes for an Acid Spray. I should have known that when they didn't throw the Mega Horn. And now I am 2 stages debuffed on my defense. I'm almost able to farm down, and in the back, they have a Wing Attack Charizard. At the last second, I'm able to reach a foul play. This will do a solid chunk of damage, so they're forced to commit the shield. They have a big energy lead, but I have Nidoqueen in the back, and Nidoqueen is an incredibly powerful closer. They go for the Blast Burn, Nidoqueen tanks it, and I'm going straight for the Poison Fang. Let's start to lower their defense stat. Poison Fang gets the shield. The one thing I have to watch for is a potential catch, because they did save the low health Escav in the back. I shield the Dragon Claw, I farm up, I wait till the middle of their wing attack, and I fire off the Poison Fang. Poison Fang takes down the Charizard, and that is a good game. Hopping into the final match, leading Scrafty into Jellicent, an absolutely incredible lead. Jellicent will immediately save switch into Nidoqueen, and honestly, this is a tricky save switch as I don't have a hard counter to Nidoqueen. So I fire off the foul play, get some chip damage, and I bring in my defense Deoxys. Deoxys will be able to absorb Nidoqueen's energy, which is very helpful because they have a massive energy lead here. They fire off a second Poison Fang. I'm able to tank it, no problem. I'm going to farm up and fire off a Rock Slide bait just before they're able to reach the next Poison Fang. Rock Slide does get the shield. That is huge. They farm up a bunch and they're firing off a move. I will respect the potential Earth Power here. They go for the Earth Power. That's a huge shield. I go for the Psycho Boost, but they catch it back on a Jellicent. Very nice play by my opponent. But now I have that Jellicent switch locked into my Scrafty, and that is right where I want it. Jellicent is going to be firing off Bubble Beam after Bubble Beam, trying to lower the amount of damage Scrafty does. But even with the Bubble Beam nerfs, this is still an incredibly comfortable matchup for Scrafty. Scrafty is just going to continue to farm up as they fire off debuff after debuff. They fire off another Bubble Beam. Again, I'm going to overfarm and throw to make sure that I'm throwing on good timing. Firing off the foul play, that gets them low, and they're able to reach one final move before I'm able to take them out. They fire off that Bubble Beam. I am able to counter down. I'm pretty debuffed, but I have switch advantage. They have Alolan Ninetales. I aggressive switch Nidoqueen, and they bring in their own Nidoqueen. I'm just going for the bait here. There's no way they don't shield, and of course they do. They have to commit the shield there because if they let an Earth Power go, the game is just over. I shield up. I'm able to shield the Earth Power, I overfarmed slightly, and I'm firing off an Earth Power of my own. This will be taking care of the Nidoqueen, and now it's just Nidoqueen versus Alolan Ninetales. I'm going to fire off the Poison Fang, solid amount of damage, and lowered their defense. We switch into the Deoxys, and I'm able to catch the Weather Ball. That's huge. They undercharge, looking for the farm down. Deoxys able to reach the Psycho Boost, and that will be game over. Psycho Boost taking down the Alolan Ninetales, and that is a good game. All in all, I had a ton of fun running this team. I went incredibly positive with it, almost able to climb back to Legend rank. And as I mentioned at the beginning, not only is this a very strong team overall, but triple hard countering OBSTAGOON, especially after the community day, means that if you see an opponent having an OBSTAGOON, you have an incredibly high likelihood of being able to win the match. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.